You just recently launched your campaign in hopes of taking Congressman Jordan's seat. What are your plans for this campaign, and what are some of the things that you want to change in your district?
Well, we're going to try and talk to the farmers out there. I don't know why the farmers have turned towards the Republican Party when the Democratic Party is all about the environment, helping farmers, and things like that. So we want to go after the farmers and talk to them. And the district is a lot of rural people, so that's going to help in that aspect. It's also going to be a lot of automotive industry out there that is shifting to electric vehicles. So we need to look at that too to save jobs in the district.
Why do you believe that a lot of rural communities have turned away from the Democratic Party? And do you believe that your campaign can put an end to that pattern?
Well, I think we can, because I'm a moderate Democrat, although I still believe in progressive platform. But I can see things from both sides, and we need a candidate out there that's going to speak to both sides of the issues. And that way we can gain common ground and actually get back to talking to each other.
As of recent, there has been a lot of increased talk with regard to racial justice. How do you think you can make those necessary changes that we need with regard to government?
Well, I have a very diverse family. I have Hispanic blood in the family, Black blood in the family. So I can see what's going on out there. I think we need to address the racial issues that have been brewing throughout our country ever since the founding of it. And we need to pin it down. 1964, 65 timeframe was a good start, but we kind of stopped there. We need to keep moving along and improving to help people like Black Lives Matter become more integrated into the society and be more on the same footing as Caucasians, such as myself.
Where do you see your role when it comes to supporting these local businesses that have really been just fighting to survive throughout this pandemic?
Well, I'm a warehouse manager, so I know how the pandemic is hurting businesses out there, because we see it where I work that we just can't get people to come out and start working again, whether it's they're afraid to get COVID or, whatever it may be. I don't know what it is, but we need to get folks back to working. And I think the Biden administration is moving that ball forward, and we need that to get our country back in order and get it moving forward again.
One of the main concerns has been that a lot of people are making more money while on unemployment than at their job. Do you view that as problematic because more people are just making money by not working than their employer is willing to pay them?
That is part of the issue with the employment out there. We feel, and I feel, some of the stimulus money was given to people that don't need it. I personally didn't need it. I think it should be targeted to the people that really need it. And some of those people are just staying at home, trying to get that money to just kind of live off the government. And that's not what it's meant for. It's meant to help Americans struggle through this time. And a lot of people out there are taking advantage of it. I hear it from the postman that is delivering my mail. I hear it when I step into restaurants just recently that we don't have enough staffing. It's going to be a while, to even my work where we don't have enough staffing to run the shifts needed to produce the product.
Do you believe that in the state level that the minimum wage should be raised so that more people are motivated to get out to the workforce? Because the main thing throughout this pandemic has been the fact that people just don't have enough money initially to support themselves with the pandemic, and especially if they have children.
The minimum wage hasn't really been touched in a long, long time. And it needs to keep pace with the inflation overall, as we progress through time, that everybody else gets the cost of living. Why can't we do that with the minimum wage? When I grew up, when I took a job at McDonald's right out of high school, I made $3.35 an hour. Here it is 30 years later, and we're only at $8 something an hour. That's just ridiculous. Americans can't live on that, period. I mean, you can't own a car, rent, insurance, all that. You can't live on that kind of money. So to boost that up to say $15 an hour, like we've heard, I think that's a livable wage. Now, do kids in high school who are working in high school need $15 an hour? No, I don't think they do. But a 21-year-old with a child or two that is struggling to make ends meet, yes, that person deserves $15 an hour.
President Biden has proposed a massive infrastructure plan that will spend a significant amount of money to repair bridges, roads, also to assist in other needs such as broadband internet. Where do you stand on that proposal, and where do you see it potentially impacting and benefiting the state of Ohio?
Well, if you ever traveled through the state of Ohio, you know some of our roads are in bad conditions. I have a bridge out near my house that needs repaired, but I don't think the county has the money to repair it, or the state for that matter. But we need that kind of infrastructure bill that will help Ohioans rebuild the roads. But in this time of pandemic, we know rural communities were hurting for broadband. We need broadband for farmers so they can access the technology to work the farm better, to have better crop yields, things like that. So those kind of infrastructures bring along lots of jobs, and we need that in Ohio.
One concern that Republicans have had on the federal level is that this package is too expansive and will cost too much. Do you agree that this package is too large? Do you believe that it should be condensed?
I don't think it should be condensed. I think there's ways that we could pay for it. I know President Biden has offered the tax the rich kind of thing, but that's all gone downhill since the Reagan administration, that the corporate taxes have decreased and decreased and decreased. But I think President Biden can get the program paid for without really increasing the national debt at its current level.
As we emerge from this pandemic, a lot of the concern has been about some of the things that our elected officials have been saying throughout the pandemic, and you've been very vocal with regard to comments made by Congressman Jordan, especially during hearings where he's been grilling Dr. Fauci on the issues. Do you believe that that kind of rhetoric is problematic? And if you are elected, are you going to follow that same path, or do you plan to support the medical experts?
Let's look at it this way. I'm a warehouse manager, and I attend a warehouse meeting every day with the other managers. If I did what Jim Jordan did the other day and interrupt the committee meeting while they're trying to do something, I'd be fired. Okay. The divisiveness is not helping America, and it needs to end. And Jim Jordan is leading that charge on the divisiveness since Trump has left the stage pretty much. He needs to go. He's not getting anything done. He hasn't introduced any bills in forever, if any. And he's doing no good for Americans or Ohioans for that matter. And we need to get back to serving the American people. And that's what I'm going to do. You know, I have to listen to everybody and try and come up with the best deal for Ohioans and Americans that we can come up with. We all know that Ohio has been very badly gerrymandered since 2010. I don't think we're going to have a different district for 2022 just because of what Trump was doing with the census, delaying the census, not getting it to the states, even though we have an Ohio Constitution that says we need to have it done by September 30th. They don't even anticipate getting it till September 30th. The pandemic, I don't think the pandemic has turned people one way or another. I think what happened on January 6th has done more to break away those traditional Republicans away from the party and isolate people like Jim Jordan, who are for Trump. They've separated that party. And I think that's going to be the key to this election, is talking to those traditional Republicans and convincing them that a Democrat has their best interests at heart. And people like Jim Jordan and the Trump people out there, the QAnon people, do not.
As we emerge from this pandemic, we've been seeing a lot of mass shootings as of recent. Do you see guns as the problem, or do you view this as a people problem? And that has been something that has really divided voters because it seems like Democrats more believe it's a gun problem, as where Republicans view it as more of a people problem. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, I think it's both. You know, we know that the Second Amendment is the law of the land. It's not going to go away. But to have an AR-15 or an AK-47 out there on the streets of America, we don't need that. Yes, there are bad people out there with guns, but we know that's going to happen either way. So let's try and the weapon of choice for school shootings is an AR-15. Now, my brother-in-law has an AR-15. I've repaired the M16, which is based off of the AR. So I know what the weapons can do. It's not a hunting weapon. And if you need a 30-round magazine to go hunting Bambi in the forest and you empty that round or that magazine, you need to go back to the range and go back to what I'm sure their fathers taught them about hunting, which is one shot, one kill. And if you just spray rounds anywhere, you're not sure where those rounds are going. And the AK or the AR-15, those rounds can carry up to 1.5 miles. So if you're not, understanding what is out there and how to use the weapons, you shouldn't be handling a weapon. So on the flip side, Republicans will tell you, you're punishing good gun owners. Well, good gun owners should want good control of the weapons out there because it's only hurting them. And don't get me wrong, both of my brother-in-laws own lots of weapons. Okay, they're both veterans of the military. So it's just going to hurt people if we don't get control of the weapons that are out there.
Is there anything else you want voters in your district to know about you?
Well, like I said, I'm a moderate, but I do believe in progressive policies like single-payer healthcare. I know myself, I've been without healthcare. I know what it is to go without healthcare. I still have problems with my healthcare that my prescriptions keep changing the amount of the cost of them. And it bothers me every time. I am a big proponent of climate change. Climate chaos is coming if we don't do something about it. We see that chaos starting in Miami, where at high tides, their streets are starting to flood. So we have to start now. I was looking at the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is so much bigger than just an environmental issue. It encompasses healthcare and so much other issues out there that I fully support. And we need to work on those right now. AOC is a big disruptor, just like Elon Musk is a disruptor for the EV industry. She wants to move this forward where politicians for years have just kicked the can down the road. And I'm not all about that. We need to get stuff done now for Americans.
I want to expand on what you said a little bit about healthcare. That's something that Ohio is familiar with. That is an issue that Ohioans have dealt with for a long time. What do you believe are potential solutions to this healthcare problem, or at least some things you can contribute to reduce the burden on Ohioans?
Well, we have to address the big elephant in the room, which is the ACA. We have to keep moving forward on the ACA. We have to improve it and improve it over time. My brother uses it. He says it's Medicare, but it's basically the same thing. It's government assistance for his healthcare, and he needs it. The healthcare is controlled by two people. It's either controlled by the government or it's controlled by businesses that give you that healthcare. Either way, we can manipulate those buckets and say, how can we take it away from business so they're more profitable? They can give back to their workers. They can invest in their businesses without that big expense of healthcare and move that towards the government in a single payer healthcare system. I think we need to address those things. And instead of just saying it's a socialist program, and it's not getting us anywhere. Americans need healthcare. It shouldn't be it should be a right, not a benefit of anything. It's a right.
Jeff Seitz looking to unseat Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Jane.